Hey, what's up everybody? How's everyone doing out there today? Welcome back to Wildcat MTG, and today we have a different kind of video, probably a shorter video as well, but I guess bonus content, if you will, right? I have a mail day. I recently ordered some stuff off of TCG, some stuff that I was not necessarily in the market for per se, but just some things I was like, you know what, on the price of these right now, I find them to be like pretty good deals, at least with some upside and stuff that I'm not upset about having. So I don't know, figured I'd go through it and kind of share some of my recent pickups with you guys. So I will start off with, I'll say like the pretty much a lot of this is Innistrad Remastered. While I thought Innistrad Remastered was a pretty well done remastered set, I thought the experience, the limited experience was good. I thought the collector boxes were they jammed it full of the stuff that you want to see, and they didn't make them like super rare hits. The trade-off that is that you have a bunch of extra copies of cards enter the market, and that really drops the price of singles, which to me is, I guess, opportunistic, right? It's opportunity. So some stuff that I've always wanted to have for myself that I thought was now a pretty good price, a pretty good time to pick them up. So I start off with, I picked up a playset of, I'm a big playset guy. This is just like, I don't know that I'm ever going to have 4 decks that need a copy of Westvale Abbey, but like just always, like the idea of having a quote-unquote playset always resonates with me. So anyways, I picked up 4 retro frame Westvale Abbeys, non-foils. Just one of the regular frame versions. So obviously, you know, Westvale Abbey, I think prior to reprint, base copy of Abbey was like $7 or $8, and now these are like under $1 depending on which versions you want. And of course, the big one here is that you can sacrifice 5 creatures and then you transform this land and untap it, and it just becomes a 9/7 flying lifelink indestructible with haste, which seems pretty decent. So my pickups on the Abbeys, I paid for all of these after taxes, after shipping, blah blah blah, the righteous price of $3.20. So it was 80 cents per copy. I don't know if these are going to boom and go back up, but when I compare like, oh, these were like $7 or $8 cards, and I think it's a really neat card that I don't mind owning a copy of. That becomes attractive to me in terms of, okay, well, it's 80 cents a copy. Like, what's my downside? Oh, if it drops to 50 cents or 30 cents, I mean, what am I going to be out? A couple bucks? So good upside, and a card that for me, that I've just wanted to have copies of for a while. Next up, I did the thing where I was like, didn't want to open the packages on air and then have to like worry about. So like I went through them already, and I just opened everything to make sure I had all the correct amount of copies, that they were all in condition and at good condition. I didn't have to send them back or anything. So, and I just kind of saved some potential for dead air by just opening them ahead of time. But I did pick up 3 retro frame copies of Thing in the Ice. I picked up 3 because I already actually have one. So I have my quote unquote play set. Thing in the Ice was a really popular card for a while, and it wasn't even prior to the reprint like it was super expensive, but it's a really cool card. It's a card that I didn't have any copies for myself, and at one point when this was like actually seeing a ton of constructed play, these were running probably 15 or so, but I think prior to the reprint they weren't seeing any play. They were maybe $2.50 a copy. Well, guess what? Now they're even cheaper. The retro frame copies of Thing in the Ice cost me $1.17. Shipped, after tax, etc., etc. So I paid what did I pay? 46 cents a copy? Yeah, okay. So again, I don't know. I don't think that card's going to take off, but as far as like cards I've always wanted to have copies of, and now if it ever does like blow up in Pioneer again or something along those lines, I'll just have them on hand. I like the retro frame versions, and it cost me the all-in price of $1.17 for 3 copies. Next up, I picked up, they came individually. I appreciate the seller for taking the care. But I picked up 4 retro frame copies of Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler, of course, has been printed and reprinted many times. But it's always a card that is just like a zombie and a combo piece, like an infinite combo piece that always like comes back. Yeah, Gravecrawler comes back. See what I did there? But the retro frame copies, I think for the 4 of these, I paid... I have notes. I paid like $9. I think I paid like $2.35. So I paid just over $9 for the 4 copies. It was interesting to me when I was price checking them. I was like, well, the Double Masters copies are still like Double Masters 2022 are still fetching like $4 a copy. So retro frames that are really just down because people are unloading their Innistrad Remastered, you know, at less than $2.50 a copy. I can feel pretty good about that. I think right now you might even be able to get them a little bit cheaper, like depending on when you do your TCG searches, a lot of vendors don't want to sell a card for $1 and then have to pay $1.50 upwards for shipping. So they'll be like, oh, the copy is $1.85, but shipping is $1.35 unless you buy more than $5 worth of stuff. So I like to do a lot of my searches by sellers selling multiple copies of. So if I buy 4, then even at that price, like I'm gonna surpass the $5, so I can kind of weed those out. That way, if like it just lowers my dollar cost average, so I'm not, essentially it makes the shipping free. And I was like, okay, well now I'm actually buying them for $1.85 instead of $1.85 plus $1.15 or $1.20 or whatever for shipping, which really effectively makes it a $3 card for one copy, if that makes sense, right? Next up, I think I even maybe waited on these too long, but when Resplendent Angel was reprinted in LCI, if you'll recall, when these were reprinted, these were first printed in I think Core 2019, and they got upwards. But prior to the reprint in LCI, they were topping $30, I think, a copy. LCI came out, and these just plummeted. Like they went from a $30 card to like a $3 card. And they started to tick back up, and I should have picked them up when they were like $3.50, because I was like, at that price point, like what's my real risk? It's an angel, it's a life gain mechanism, like it's a payoff for life gain. This is a really good utility card still. And so I picked up a playset. Yeah, I know, we're shocked by this. So I picked up 4 copies of Resplendent Angel, and I paid for all 4 of these. I think I paid $21.63, so I effectively paid $5.40 a copy. I know that sometimes they still go up and down, but like to me, again, as far as upside is concerned, when these cards used to be $30, and I know that it's still a quality angel, which is obviously a very popular Kindred deck type, or life gain payoffs, it's still a really good one. So I'm okay with paying, essentially $4.99 plus tax for a copy, which was what made it like less than $5.50. I still think that they're decent pickups. I actually, like I said, I kind of wish I had almost jumped on them sooner. All right, next one is, I think this is a really good one. Through the Breach is a really good card. So stop me if you've heard this before. I picked up a playset. In Innistrad Remastered, this was not printed at the rare level. This was printed at mythic level, right? Through the Breach, it goes through cycles. When the card is seeing play, it shoots up to like $10, $12, $15. And then when it's not seeing play, and no one's playing with it, and it goes down a bunch. Right now, the Innistrad Remastered as a mythic copy of this card from this set, and it's traditionally, like a lot of sets, it's really printed at rare level. Innistrad Remastered, it was printed at mythic, and these cards, I picked up this play set of Through the Breach for $4.20, all in. That's after tax, shipping, blah, blah, blah. So I paid $1.05 per copy. What's interesting is I actually don't even have any copies right now, because traditionally, I had a playset, and I think I picked them up for like $2 to $3, and then there was a Breach deck that popped up in Modern for a minute, and they shot up to like 15, and I was like, well, okay. So I just sold them off, because I was like, well, how am I passing on that? So picking them up now, a playset for $1.05 per, after tax, after shipping, blah, blah, blah. That feels pretty good to me. Like, it's just a very good card. It's printed at mythic level, so it wasn't like you were pulling a ton of these in Innistrad Remastered. It hasn't been reprinted a lot as a card. It's been in a number of different sets, and again, it's one of those cards that seems to lay dormant, and when no one's paying attention to it, you can pick them up for pretty cheap, a couple of bucks, a few bucks. But when this card catches steam again, like all of a sudden it just instantly shoots up. So $1.05 seemed like an appropriate price point for me. I was pretty happy with that. In fact, I have more of these coming, but I went a little bit harder with this one. I don't know if you want to, I guess you could kind of call it a spec. I don't necessarily consider picking up 8 copies of a card really specing, but whatever. I only have 1 copy here, but I have 3 more on the way. Actually, I take it back. I have 4 more on the way. I picked up the non-foil retro frame version from Innistrad Remastered as well, and I picked up these for $1.50 a piece. So I paid a little bit more. Instead of $1.05, I paid $1.50. So I paid an extra 45 cents for the retro frame version, but I'll have 5 retro frame copies. I'm just waiting for the other 4 to arrive. But like I said, as far as what's my downside here? If I pick them up at $1.50 or $1.05, what do I care if it drops by, if it loses, 50% of its value? I don't. But as a card that does see some constructed play, some commander play, and then when it sees play, it has a tendency to all of a sudden just blow up. Like, nice upside. Last one for today is Stony Silence. Stony Silence has been, with Mox Opal and artifacts kind of doing their thing again, and Grinding Breach being a deck. Stony Silence has seen a lot of uptick. I think base copies, I actually got especially lucky on these ones. I'll talk about this ones in just a second. But base copies of Stony Silence are running about $10 a piece right now. I actually picked these up. I think I just kind of stole one here. I picked all 4 of these up for $6.84. So picked up a play set from the original set, all near mint copies. Picked them up for $6.84. So my dollar cost average on these is $171. And as I mentioned, right now they're going on TCG for $10 a piece. So that feels pretty good. I think it was kind of a new seller that was trying to build up their feedback or their reviews, which, makes sense. You sort of have to grind that out in the beginning. But I got these at a particularly good deal. If I hadn't found these, though, one thing I will point out, and I obviously, again, we emphasize there's been a lot of Innistrad remastered here, maybe not so much here, but I've also been looking at the stuff that comes in the Mystery 2 boxes, right? There's a lot of, it's all reprints in Mystery 2. And so I was looking for, people hate the ugly white border stuff. Some people really love it, but a lot of people don't. And so if you wanted to pick up some cheaper Stony Silences that, and you don't get to just swoop in and steal one, the white border versions from Mystery Booster 2, whereas the black border versions from Innistrad are going for $10 a piece. The white border versions from Mystery Booster 2 are about $5 a piece. So you could feasibly pick up a play set of Stony Silences for, perhaps under as low as $20. So that's really not bad. That's another place to look. And so my overarching message would be here, like, when the reprint sets come out, sometimes there's disparity just between the copy from that set and a normal copy. I mentioned, like, the Double Masters 2022 Gravecrawlers were still going for like $4+ a piece, even after the Innistrad remastered copies were selling, the base copies were selling for under $1. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. One either has to go up and the other one has to come down, or maybe they meet in the middle, but the disparity between the two prices shouldn't hold. And so there's opportunity there. Sometimes people are just trying to recoup money when the Innistrad or when the reprint sets come out. They unload all the stuff they don't want to keep for themselves or whatever. And sometimes, there's a race to the bottom and the market is wrong for a little bit. It's wonky. It's incorrect. So between MagicCon stuff, when it gets opened right after a Chicago or right after a Vegas and people start flooding the market with their excess singles because they drafted a bunch when they were at the events or whatever else, sometimes there's some opportunity there to pick up some, swoop in and pick up some cheaper stuff. Or when reprint sets come out, it's a really good time to look at it as well. So anyways, I just thought I'd share some of my mail day stuff. None of the stuff is like immediately going into a deck. It's really just like, okay, this is the cheapest this card's been in a while, so I'm happy to hang on to copies of it, and maybe it finds a home eventually, but at the very least, I'll have copies if I ever need them. So it's kind of the mindset there. Anyways, that's going to do it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, do me a favor. If you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button for me. Hit the like button for me. And by all means, drop me some comments. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks so much, everybody. And be well.